Good afternoon. So let me start with a story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a beautiful girl called Cinderella. Cinderella lost her parents when she was a child, and she used to stay with her stepmother and the two stepsisters. Very fond of studying, Cinderella would find time for the books and her dreams. She used to dream and she used to talk to herself all the time as if there was something which she was parallelly working on. One fine day, when Cinderella's stepmother and the two stepsisters were off for the prince's party, Cinderella knew it was her time to realize her dreams, to take the world in her hand. And there she was, transformed into a different Cinderella with the smart jeans and the trainer shoes. Mind you, not the uncomfortable glass slippers. And she had a magic wand which she used to get her motorbike because she knew that she didn't need a fairy mother to do that. Magic was in her own mind. And there she was, zooming on her bike to the countryside, wherein she actually was working on a business of manufacturing shoes. And she was all this while designing these shoes on her own and using her fairy mother, friends, or whatever we may want to call them, to execute it. You know why? Because one of her friends, to woo her prince, had to wear a very uncomfortable glass slipper. And that day, Cinderella thought she has to do something because women need to be comfortable. Wasn't it weird? This is how we're all used to looking at Cinderella, thinking about Cinderella in her beautiful blue gown, wanting to be in the arms of the princess. But my Cinderella has her dreams and happiness in her own dreams, in what she wanted to do in life and follow her heart. And while Cinderella was busy doing that, what was Rapunzel up to? Well, when she was in the star, trapped, she would always find a prince a little distance away being trained on archery. And when she would stare at the prince later into the day, he would find him crying. Yes, he was strong enough to cry because he didn't feel it was weak to show your vulnerabilities. Because he had a dream of becoming a chef and not the prince. And he just didn't like it. He was so fond of cooking food that he wanted to be a chef. So one fine day, Cinderella decided it's time for her to rescue the prince. And there she was. She cut her braid and walked down the tower and asked her horse to take her to the prince's land, and she freed the prince from what he had to do, which he didn't want to do. The prince was very impressed, and he proposed Rapunzel. Well, the idea was very good because Rapunzel was very fond of eating good food. And she said, oh my God, it's so nice to marry a prince who can cook for me, or a chef who could cook for me, and I don't have to do anything. But her dreams of studying and becoming a scientist at NASA were more attractive. All the time she had spent at the tower, she used to watch the moon and the stars, and she dreamt of reaching out to them. And therefore, she asked the prince that, you know what, if you can wait for me, that's okay. Otherwise, off I fly to do what I want to do. So Rapunzel didn't need a prince to rescue her, to give her a new life. She was a savior herself because the power was within her. Doesn't these fairy tales sound a little weird? Yes, because they do not conform to the beliefs we had, to the way we are used to hearing them all the time. Well, gender differences develop over the lifespan due to the way boys and girls are raised and educated. Teachers and parents are our first influences, and they play a very critical role in building and nurturing these stereotypes. The morals of the fairy tales do not match with the needs of the new world. The prince's myopic focus on marriage and obsession with the physical perfection primes a child. And let's face it, the adolescents of today are busy photoshopping their own selfies and are facing the struggles of low self-esteem. Gender stereotyping is as unyielding as the glass slipper. That's just an example. But the stereotypes could be for any reason: gender, socioeconomic class, physical features, abilities, characteristics, just about everything and anything. But more often than not, they are embedded into gender. And that's because the societal roles attributed to the male as the economic provider and to the female as a homemaker enlarge over the period of time. And that's so we believe that men and women come from different planets. Honk, with other researchers in 2011, proved that there's no relationship between a specific hormone and the specific behavior. For instance, testosterone, which is associated with the aggressive behavior, actually also elicits pro social behavior and care. Hormonal changes not only depend on the gender, but the life events and situations. Gordon, in his experiment, proved that men and women have equal increase in oxytocin after the 6 months of the birth of their first child to accommodate the demands of caring in that situation. So, well, do we all stereotype? What do you think? Yes? Well, when it comes to stereotyping, a very dangerous stereotype is the one where the educated believe that it is the uneducated who are prone to using stereotype. I reject this idea. I believe that the bigger problem in stereotyping is so-called the educated. Look at the history, look at the world around us. We all in this room today could be the part of this problem. Allow me to explain why I'm raising the flag about the educated and the elite. It's not because I don't believe that there is no stereotyping in other segments of the population. There's a rampant stereotyping everywhere. But stereotyping by the educated poses a greater problem because it is often camouflaged and with a well-founded reason and a rationale. The only other thing more detrimental than a stereotype is the one which is qualified as reasoned. A successful female employee is an aggressive woman. An affluent female employee is spending the largesse of a successful husband. An attractive female employee who is speaking with a male colleague is loose. You know what I'm talking about? We all hear this, we all see this around us every single day. In order to understand stereotyping, it's very important to understand the triangular nature of this problem. A stereotype is closely related to a prejudice, which in turn is related to discrimination, which reinforces the stereotype. What is a stereotype? It's an assignment of an attribute to a group. What is a prejudice? It is a determination whether this attribute is desirable or undesirable. And discrimination is acting based on this prejudice. The problem with the educated mind is that it transverses with the this triangle with the misappropriate confidence and sidesteps the accountability under the cloak of rationality. It searches for evidence for the prejudice, which in turn is used to provide a rationale to discrimination. The uneducated may discriminate out of ignorance, but more often than not, the discrimination by the educated is willful. This brings me to the 7 compelling stories which we are going to hear today, which each of them is an extraordinary story of courage, fighting a particular menace which may have arisen out of a stereotype, lost opportunities, challenged dignity, rampant second-guessing, persistent undermining, and much more. As we hear these stories today, let us resolve not to be the spectators. This afternoon would fall short if we assume the role of just an audience today. Impose yourself into these stories. truthfully, faithfully, yet fairly. Hold yourself to the task and ask yourself, are you the part of the problem? It does not matter what role you pick any. Then challenge your own assumptions, be it a stereotype or the prejudice. Would you have looked at anybody who is a part of the story a little differently than now? Starting tomorrow, I hope in all our interactions with the people we work with, the people we live with, the people we interview, the people we evaluate for promotions, the strangers on the train, in all our interactions, take a moment and think about your role you chose in these 7 stories. The word need not be what the educated mind has refined it to be. And the first step to the open mind is to break this triangle of stereotype, prejudice, and discrimination. It all can start only from ground zero, unstereotyping. Welcome to the word from 7 other perspectives. Thank you.